Hello, everyone. Before I introduce myself and the topic of my talk, I actually have 3 questions for the whole audience. So the first question is, how many of you have been to Bayreuth? Okay, so most of you are paying attention, that's great. Second question is, how many of you have been to Africa? All right, it's a lot of people. How many of you have been to space? I played a virtual reality app once called Titans of Space. And I don't have the memory of playing an app. I actually have a memory of being in space. I was floating around the sun and among the planets in our solar system. And the funny thing is, somebody once very famously said that we are the middle children of history. We're born too late to explore the Earth and born too soon to explore the stars. But I tend to disagree, because I have that memory of actually being in space. Because things in virtual reality, objects, they feel real. They feel solid and they feel like they are really there. And I see some skeptic faces here. So check out 5 times world snooker champion Ronnie O'Sullivan playing a virtual game of pool and falling over because he thought that the table in front of him was solid. And because virtual reality is such a powerful experience, I truly believe that virtual reality will change people's lives. So hi, my name is Dominic Eskofier. I'm the head of virtual reality at Nvidia for the EMEAI region, and virtual reality literally changed my life. 5 years ago, I tried an early prototype of the Oculus Rift, which is one of the major headsets out there. And back in the days, it was actually a piece of kit that was held together by duct tape. This is actually a more advanced version of that kit. And ever since that experience, I truly believe that virtual reality will change people's lives. It's really such an amazing experience that you truly get your mind racing about the possibilities. So when after I had that first experience, I tried everything I can to make virtual reality a thing. Together with others, I founded the largest unofficial community on the web for virtual reality, which is the Oculus subreddit. I also founded a non-profit organization called EUVR to push the envelope for European virtual reality developers, because in Silicon Valley, things are moving so much faster than around here. And I can speak that from my own experience, because I also had a virtual reality startup called Realities.io that we brought through an accelerator in Silicon Valley. And seeing how fast things are moving, I actually believe that virtual reality is going to be the next computing platform. And Nvidia, the company I'm working for, is also believing that. So it's really great to work for a company that's pushing the envelope in these modern technologies. And I'm sorry, you saw a lot of graphs on here, but I'm going to pester you with one more. Because virtual reality will be the next computing platform, it's also going to be a multi-billion-dollar industry. If you take a look at the latest numbers from April 2017, you see that already in 2017, virtual reality is already a multi-billion-dollar industry. So for you out there who are studying at the moment, it's a huge opportunity to build a career around an industry that is just now starting to take off. I actually go a step further. I believe that virtual reality will create a better humankind. And in the last remaining 9 minutes, I'm going to tell you why. First of all, virtual reality will prepare you better for your future. Second, it will make you more healthy. And third, virtual reality will make you smarter. So let's dive right into that first topic. This is my brother, my sister-in-law, and my 2 nephews. There's a 3rd child included in this picture that's arriving soon, actually. They bought a house from the 60s, and they're renovating it right now. And after a long day of helping them to renovate their house, I talked to my sister-in-law and said to her, the house is really great, you got an amazing garden, and once you have that addition to your house, it's going to look amazing. But she said that for her, it's hard to imagine what it's going to look like just by seeing a 2D blueprint. And I thought, hey, virtual reality actually offers the solution. It can prepare her for the house that she'll be living in, maybe for the rest of her life. So what I did is, I took the old house, I built a model in SketchUp, and then I ran it through Iris VR, which is an app that takes your existing SketchUp drawing and puts it into virtual reality. So she was able to walk inside of the house that she'll be living in for the next couple of years. She can go inside, she can check out whether the guest toilet, for example, is big enough. And for the first time ever, she was able to stand in her future living room. And in VR, you can do even crazy things, like change the setting of the sun. And so if you want to see, for example, what the dining room is going to look like in the early morning, you just get yourself over there and take a look at it. Check out the reaction from my sister-in-law. She was so taken that she literally had tears in her eyes. For the first time, she saw the house where her family and her will be living in, and that had a very emotional reaction from her. For the remaining slides, please turn on the sound on this. Thank you. The funny thing is, if you take a close look, you actually see the 2D blueprints lying on the floor, which I thought was a great metaphor for how powerful things can be in virtual reality. So, you can get a glimpse into the house you might be living in, but virtual reality can do more. Virtual reality can actually combat your fears. If you take a look at the statistics, 10 to 25% of the population out there suffer from phobias. If you take things like fear of public speaking into account, the numbers go as high as 73%. And the cool thing is, there is a therapy against it. It's called exposure therapy. That's when you go to a doctor and you get gradually exposed to your fears. And the cool thing is, it actually works just as effective in virtual reality. So instead of going to a doctor, you do the same thing in virtual reality. And this I'm actually living proof for this effectiveness. I cured my own fear of heights with virtual reality. And what's even cooler than that is that you can do the same thing at half the cost. So instead of going to a doctor, puts a glass of spiders in front of you, you can do the same thing in VR. And you can do it at your own pace as well. So if you wanna expose yourself a little bit more to your fears, you can push a button and the spiders take up more of your room. Until they're everywhere. So this is how virtual reality will prepare you for your future. It can give you a glimpse into the house you might be living in, and it will take away your fears. But it will also make you more healthy. Let me tell you the story of José Luis Mosso Vázquez. He's a researcher and general surgeon at the Universidad Panamericana. And what he does is, he jumps into his Jeep and drives up to remote mountain towns in Mexico, where there are no clinics available. And what he does is he uses virtual reality to distract his patients from their pains and their anxieties during those surgeries. Because in those remote locations, it's hard to get sedatives up there, and it's also very, very costly. And instead of seeing the surgery actually being done in front of them, they can roam around an underwater seascape, they can roam around the ruins of Machu Picchu, and by this, they can distract themselves. And what Jose found is that patients using virtual reality reported 24% less pain and anxiety during surgery. And the cool thing is, you can use that and lower the costs of general surgery by up to 25%. But VR can do much more. It can actually help paraplegics walk again. This is how it's done. Virtual reality can help these people. And not only do these patients get the ability back to move their legs to a certain degree, they get important body functions back, like bowel control, for example. So they can do their daily routine just like a normal person can. And the best thing about the study is that it showed that 100% of the patients that were treated, 100% of them were reclassified from paraplegic to just being paralyzed, which again brings them back important body functions. So that was the health part. But virtual reality is actually going to make us smarter. If you take a look at a recent study from China, it showed that students perform better when learning with virtual reality. If you do a test right after the lesson, so you have two groups, you have a VR group and a control non-VR group. If you compare the results immediately after a traditional lesson for the non-VR group and a VR lesson that is enhanced by teachers, but also with virtual reality, you see that students perform 27% better. What's even cooler than this is, if you take the same test 2 weeks later, people actually perform 32% better. So you not only learn faster in virtual reality, you actually retain that knowledge for a longer time, which obviously is the holy grail for education. And another cool thing that this study found is that 100% positive reception among students. Students really love to try out new technologies, and they can have that learning advantage on top of that. Education, and I think many of you will agree, is the most powerful weapon. It's really the key in a lot of fields out there. And I think where this learning advantage in virtual reality will have a huge implication are actually developing countries. So take Africa, for example. If you look at Africa, there's a ton of things that you can make better with education. And the crazy thing is, if you wanted to get tech into a European classroom, it's actually harder than in Africa, because the school systems in Germany are so rigid that you have to go through multiple institutions to actually get tech into the classrooms. In Africa, the whole education system is way more privatized. So getting new technologies into the classroom is easier there than it is in developed countries. So this is actually a chance for a technology to make humankind a tiny bit better. But to wrap this up, I'll end on a little bit more light note. Check this out. This is how I learned about the human body 25 years ago. Probably a lot of you will remember this series. It's a French TV series from France called Once Upon a Time Live. And it brings students and pupils and young people the ability to learn about the human body in an immersive environment. And back when I was a kid, I actually dreamt of being inside of one of these pods and take a journey into the human body. And some of you might have guessed it, this is now possible with virtual reality. So here you see me standing inside a virtual reality application. This is called the Body VR. And not only are you standing right inside a vein, so you really remember the things that are all around you because they feel real, they feel solid. You also have the ability to learn through an interactive documentary, and you're even able to interact. You can blow up blood cells and shoot them down the vein. And it's a much more immersive and it's just a better way to transport knowledge than it is on a 2D paper. So again, let me wrap this up with my little 3-year-old nephew. Some people would say that he's one of those middle children of history. But I would actually disagree. I would say he was born at the exact right time. He's born at the right time to travel the Earth. He's born at the right time to explore the stars and even take a journey inside of the human body. And all of that with the power of virtual reality. Thank you very much.